Welcome back to Cooking or Something Like It. My name is Jody. Today we are going to do a risotto dish. And for those of you who don't know what risotto is a type of rice. It's called arborio rice. It takes a long time to cook, so this dish is going to take a little while, but we're going to take a little bit of a break between the first and second part so you don't have to stand around and watch me cook rice. Just a few administrative things before we get started. Make sure you like our Facebook page, Cooking or Something Like It. Chances are if you're watching this, you've already found that. But just in case, we also have an Instagram page, a YouTube channel, a Twitter account, and our webpage at cookingorsomethingLikeIt.com, where you can find all of our historical videos, my blog, the pictures of everything, and all that good stuff. So what do we have here today? As I mentioned, I have my arborio rice, I have some cilantro, I have 4 tablespoons of butter, I have Parmesan cheese, I have half of a small onion diced up, I have button mushrooms that have been softened, I have peas. Now these are peas out of a can. We are in Potsdam, New York, and it is January and it is below 0 outside, so the availability of fresh peas to us right now is slightly limited. These will work. One note I would say, when I opened this can, you know when you open canned vegetables, there's liquid inside. When you're going to make something like risotto, don't discard the liquid. What I have here is approximately 6 cups of chicken broth. I added the liquid from the peas to the chicken broth. It's going to instill some flavor in there that I would lose if I just discarded that liquid. So just a little tip there. This is bonito, and for those of you who don't know what bonito is shaved shrimp shells. This is very popular in Asian cuisine. They're salty. They give a nice umami flavor, a little bit fishy, but you won't take, once I mix it all together, it's not gonna taste like fish per se, but it gives it a little bit of that oyster sauce, fish sauce kind of vibe. So we're gonna crush these up and put them in there. This is harissa. Harissa is a Moroccan green pepper sauce, and we'll show you this in a little bit. And here I have scallops. Now, I realize these don't look like scallops. Why don't these look like scallops? Because real scallops are quite expensive. These are scallop pieces, which are about a third as much. They're still scallops, they're just the pieces that break off in the processing facilities when they prepare scallops. So they're a lot cheaper. And they're going to taste just as good. For something like this, where the presentation of a whole large round scallop on top of a plate is not so critical, save your money, go with this. Okay, here we go. I have put a little bit of olive oil into my pan here. We're going to light that, and yes, I still have to light my burner with a lighter. And we're going to let that come up to temp. We are going to add my onions, and then we're going to need the butter and the arborio rice. Now, risotto is a real unique dish. The rice takes a long time to cook. It's not like white rice or jasmine rice. When you make risotto, you're trying to really infuse the flavor of the dish into the rice, and it cooks very slowly. Essentially, you toast it in butter before you start, and you'll see me do that in a second here, and then you slowly add broth to it to infuse flavor into it. It's a really nice dish when you're trying to work on a main ingredient. This particular case, we're going to focus on just the risotto itself and the flavor of the risotto, and we're going to add peas and mushrooms later. But let's say you wanted to do a shrimp dish, okay? And you had some shrimp that were still in the shell. And we actually talked about this, and we kind of thought, a little bit afterthought, but when you peel the shrimp, you save those shells. Take the shells, put them in water, make a broth out of the shrimp shell leftovers. Use that broth to season your risotto, and you really get that infusion of flavor. With scallops, especially with pieces of scallops like this, I don't so much have that option here, but I am going to use the bonito to try and get a little bit of that seafood, fishy, umami flavor into the risotto, and you'll see that as I do it. Alright. Onions into the pan. We just want to soften them a little bit. This is going to cook for quite a while, so we don't have to make sure everything is completely cooked all the way through when we first start. Give them a couple minutes. While these are going, I'm going to start melting my butter in the top of the pan here. Now the way we're going to put this together, I'm going to finish the risotto because the mushrooms are softened, the peas are soft because they were canned peas. We're going to add them at the very end. So we don't want to cook them too much together, and again, with our fresh cilantro, as with most fresh herbs, you want to add that at the end too, otherwise you'll cook all that good flavor right out of it. Then we're going to take our scallops, we're going to pan fry them in a little bit of harissa. It's going to give it a little bit of tang, and those scallops will top, or you could mix them in, either way, it doesn't matter. I'm going to top the dish with the scallops just to kind of give it a nice presentation, because I think the green harissa over top of the beige risotto make a nice dish. Alright. So, I've got butter, I've got onions in there. We're going to take the risotto and we're going to add it directly to the oil. Now, I know this is not how you normally cook rice. Normally rice is water and that's it. Risotto is a little different. Take our heat down. Can you see this real well in here?
Yeah.
Okay. So essentially what I'm doing is toasting this. I want to toast this risotto a little bit before I start adding water. And then we're going to add the water real slowly. If you add it too fast, it gets real soft, it gets kind of mushy. You don't do that. Alright. As always, since you guys always seem to like this, take a sip of my beer. You should enjoy cooking. Have a beer while you're cooking, or a glass of wine. It helps. Okay, now, I have approximately 6 cups of chicken broth with the liquid from the can of peas here. We are going to add this a half a cup at a time. This is going to take a little while. Risotto is a labor of love. When you do risotto, you're going to have to spend some time with it. As you add the liquid, you kind of need to stir it constantly. So, if you can see this in that camera, they're starting to take on a little tiny bit of a brownish color. Not brown, but almost tan. So these are toasted. So I'm going to take a scoop. First time I'm going to use 2. And we're going to start stirring. When this rice has absorbed most of this liquid, you don't want to let it go all the way down to the point where the rice is starting to stick to the pan. That defeats the purpose. So this will start to absorb pretty quickly. It is rice, so it's going to work the same way as the white rice you're used to, except this just takes a lot more liquid. So we're going to continue to do this. We'll give it one more dose of liquid so you can see what I'm talking about. Then we're going to take a short little break. I'm going to finish this because you don't need to stand here and watch me add half a cup of broth to rice for 30 minutes, and we'll come back and finish this up. But I just want to show you about when I think you should start. Okay, look right here. Can you see this, Miles? You see these bubbles? See that? How that looks like little bubbles coming through, and it's not just a solid liquid anymore? I'll show you. I'll stir it up again. You can see it again. You see that? You see little holes? Looks like little holes coming through. When you see that, add a little more liquid. All right? That will keep you from getting to the point where it starts to stick to the bottom. Stir it up. And let that keep going. Okay, we're going to take a little break. I'm going to finish this risotto. I'll show you what it looks like done. And then we're going to finish this dish, and we'll be right back. Okay, we're almost done here. I wanted to come back a little bit early to show you how to finish this. As I mentioned before, we have this bonito. This is, like I said, shredded shrimp shells. We're going to take this before we add the last of our broth, and we're going to crush it up. Now, I just use my hands. That's just how I've always done it. You can put it in a blender. You can put it in a chopper. You could use a knife, although it'll take a while. But it works great with your hands, just like that. And you can immediately smell that. You can smell that shrimp flavor coming right off there right away. All right? I just added the last of my chicken broth that had that pea juice in it too. So we're going to let this go for just a minute here. Clean up a little bit here. I'm going to add my mushrooms in. Mushrooms have they're a little bit tougher than the peas, so we're going to add those in now. Let those start soaking in. pan we're going to do scallops in. We're going to let that start coming up to temp. Alright, I'll take the peas. And if you don't like peas, you can use corn, you can use beans, you can use whatever you want. Peas go pretty well with scallops, generally speaking, so that's why I selected them. But if you don't like them, and I get it, use something else. Or don't use them at all. I really don't care. Alright. Most of the liquid is gone out of here. And the rest of it will probably absorb as I let this sit. So, last step. Cilantro and Parmesan cheese. We're going to give this one last good stir. I'm going to take the heat right off it now. That smells pretty good. Alright, now we're going to let this rest. While this is resting, I'm actually going to switch burners because it'll be easier for you to see over here. We want this pan hot. We're going to quick fry these scallops, and they're small pieces. Remember, they're not whole scallops, they're small pieces, so they're going to cook pretty quick. Wow, that smells awesome. This recipe comes to you from Miles, by the way. This was all his idea, so figured I'd give him a shout out there. Way to go, Miles.
Thanks.
Okay. Let's see. What happens if your pan isn't hot enough is the food immediately sticks to the bottom and you have to scrape it off. With scallops, being that they're a little bit tender, it's going to rip them apart, and you know, it just doesn't look as good. One thing I didn't mention, and I probably should, I forgot, I did add a little bit of rice vinegar to the scallops. Not a lot, maybe a half a teaspoon, a teaspoon. The vinegar with the scallops, it tightens them up a little bit and firms them up so they'll cook a little better. A little trick to use. Alright, let's see what we got. We'll try one. Okay. Okay. See, that pan was nice and hot, so I can toss these just like that. None of them are sticking to the bottom. Right? We're going to take the harissa. I'll let that cook for just a second more. Let them tighten up just a little bit more. One thing I didn't mention, I did put salt and pepper on the scallops first. Pretty common, but just to be totally thorough. Okay, come on. These scallops were previously frozen, so you're going to get a little bit of liquid and you're going to get a little bit of shrinkage on the scallops. You want to try, when you buy scallops, you'll see sometimes in the store they'll say dry. What that means is that they've not added any brine or broth to them. Some scallops, when you buy them, are pumped full of a sugar or a salt brine. It makes them look fuller, makes them look plumper. Problem is, when you cook them, they shrink right back down. So what you want to do is get dry scallops if you can. Okay, these are starting to tighten up a little bit. About 3 teaspoons of the harissa. Yeah, see, we're getting quite a bit of liquid in that pan, but that will cook off pretty fast. Alright. Let's see what this is going to look like. Where is nice. Okay, risotto. Plate it right in the middle like that. Looks nice. You're gonna make a mess. I make a mess every time, don't worry about it. Alright. Quite a bit of liquid came out of these. We'll let that cook down a little bit so that harissa kind of adheres a little better. If you leave too much liquid in a pan and you've added stuff for flavoring, if it's too runny, when you take it out of the pan, it runs off. So if you let it cook down just a little, you'll get a little better flavor profile at the end. This is just being stubborn. Well, that's a travesty. I was actually going to say that I would normally recommend putting sriracha on this, a little bit of the red, somebody would call it rooster sauce, over top. It's that nice, sweet, chili sauce that really goes well with stuff like this. I apparently am out though, so, but just a heads up, I would put a little bit of that with this. It would be a real nice accompaniment. All right, these are done. I don't want to overcook them, so we're going to take some fall off the side, don't worry. It's all going to taste the same anyways. A little bit of cilantro, and there you go. Mushroom and pea risotto with scallops. You can or not put the harissa sauce in. That's going to give it a little bit of zing. If you don't like the zing, leave it out. My name is Jody. This has been Cooking or Something Like It. Please like our videos, share the page, tell your friends, put up a banner if you want to. We'll take any advertising we can get. So we'll see you next time. Have a good night.